Hi, I'm Robin Boyce, and welcome to City Corner. We've had a hot 2016 so far. We've got a lot of great information for you to listen to, great discussions, and to find out how safe St. Louis is at this point. I'm Robin Boyce. Come on back. Hi, I'm Robin Boyce. Thank you for staying with us here on City Corner. We've got some good information to talk with you about. We've had some tragic events that have gone on here in the community, and we thought it was a good idea to talk about the readiness of St. Louis and some of the things that are going on across the country. In the studios with me right now is Mr. Gary Christman, who is Commissioner for the St. Louis EMA and DPS department, that is the Emergency Management Agency and the Department of Public Safety. Thank you so much, Gary, for coming in.
It's my pleasure for being here.
I called you initially when the situation happened in Paris, this past fall.
Yeah.
And you were busy doing things, getting stuff going, because your department does so many different things outside of what may be going on in some of the other cities. But tell us, what are the primary things that your department takes care of?
Emergency management, we look at all hazards. We look at how we can prevent, prepare, respond, and recover from all natural disasters and man-made disasters that can impact the city of St. Louis and the surrounding areas.
So you're looking at also things that happen that are God-driven, not so much human-driven as well. How prepared are we for sniper fire, like some of the things that we saw happen in Paris?
You know, unfortunately, we've seen a lot in the last couple of years, and we've been preparing for a lot of different types of active shooters, terrorist events, mass casualty type situations. We are prepared. But what you have to keep in mind is unfortunately those are events that happen without warning. So we know there's going to be a tragic outcome from those, but we've put a lot into our prevention. We've put a lot into our preparedness and response and capabilities to be able to address those.
So you do have some training that goes on. Tell us about that and our mock kinds of things that happen so that everybody kind of knows what to do when something happens like that.
Yeah, my agency, along with a lot of the regional emergency management agencies, we work with all different types of agencies, all the way from our local agencies to our regional agencies, our state, our federal, our volunteer agencies. We work with the hospitals, and we bring all of these agencies together because they're able to address a portion of that event or the outcomes of such an event. So we look at how law enforcement's going to respond, how they're going to address the active shooter, how fire EMS would be able to respond and do patient extraction, treatment, transport. Then we have to look at how the hospitals are going to be able to ramp up to deal with those mass casualties coming in. And then unfortunately, we also have to look at the mass fatality side of things. You know, how do we deal with those that are fatalities from that event?
So that's something that you all have to really sit back and strategically line out before anything happens, if it happens, God forbid. But
absolutely.
That's something you have to really line up and get ready for. And you're working with several different departments intertwined, St. Louis County as well?
Absolutely. We've created STARS, which is the St. Louis Area Regional Response System. And it's made up of Franklin County, Jefferson County, St. Louis County, St. Charles, St. Louis City, Madison, Monroe, and St. Clair on the Illinois side. We come together and we've built a lot of capabilities since 9/11 to be able to address a lot of these man-made threats to the St. Louis area. So we've got heavy search and rescue teams, we've got law enforcement capabilities, we have public health capabilities, hospital capabilities. So we've built all of this to look at, as I said, all hazards that can happen from man-made events, but also how we can address the natural events as well.
So would you be those guys that come out in those hazmat kind of suits or whatever and
we have
go
the
into
hazmat
situations,
teams, yes.
You know, where there's probably some smoke or you don't know if there's a virus there or something like that and take care of the situation or diffuse it?
We've got bomb teams, we've got hazmat teams, we've got public health teams that can go in and monitor for biologics that could possibly be released either naturally or man-made as well. So we look at the armed intruder, we look at the explosive devices, but we have to not disregard everything else that could possibly take place as well.
So it's really a continuous training, a continuous of being aware, and of course telling the public to be aware of anything that they might see going on.
Absolutely.
To immediately call the authorities about
Absolutely.
what's
The
happening.
campaign of see something or hear something, say something, report what you hear to local law enforcement, because it could be something that could stop one of these events.
One little small situation.
Absolutely. And the public plays a huge role in that because they're the eyes and ears for the government, the law enforcement. But along with that, we encourage them to be prepared as well. Know your surroundings. We offer a citizens emergency response training that they can take. It teaches them basic first aid. It teaches them fire suppression, how to have a plan, how to be prepared.
Great. They can be prepared in their own homes and in neighborhoods
Absolutely.
as well. Great. People can reach you. We've got the website where they can go to is stl-mode.gov/EMA, where they can get in contact you for training and some other things that
Absolutely.
they need. We really appreciate you coming on. It took a while for you to get here, but you've been busy. And
It's been extremely busy, but I appreciate the time.
No, thank you for coming on and talking with us here on City Corner.
Anytime.
Thank you. We'll be right back with more information on what's been going on around the country here in St. Louis as well on City Corner. Come on back.
Hi, my name's CJ. A few years ago, my father became seriously ill. I did what I could do before he passed, but it took its toll. I lost my job, my house. I'm getting back on my feet, but I don't know when there'll be food on the table. How'd I do, CJ?
We could be twins.
Well, cousins, maybe.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to City Corner. Hi, I'm Robin Boyce, and in the studios with me today to continue to talk about some of the things that have been going on this summer are James Ingram, who's columnist with the St. Louis American newspapers, Mr. Corey Johnson, Executive Director and friend to the show for the Corey Johnson Foundation, and Mr. Riddick Hudson. I'm so glad to get you on, who is board chair of the Ethics Project. Thank you so much, all of you gentlemen, for coming on the show. I know you all are very busy, and it's just been like everything's been happening here within the last, on the taping of this program. We are just coming out of a tumultuous week of shootings of police officers in Dallas. And this was a Black Lives Matters sponsored march that was going on at the time when all of this happened, unfortunately. But before that, there was a shooting of a young man in Baton Rouge, and then there was another shooting of a young man in Minnesota. All of it smells a lot like Ferguson and what happened there August 9th, 2014. We've had people on the show to talk about it. We've had people with the Ferguson Forward group come on and talk about it. In fact, I know that Ferguson last night had a meeting about who's going to be overseeing that project, who's going to move what the commission came up with to move it forward. Are we going to be able to move forward?
It depends, Robin. It just depends on the will of the individuals involved. You know, we're looking at a dichotomy here. Pardon me. Mm-hmm. And I was, you know, you think about this thing. Dr. King said that riots and by extension violence is the language of the unheard. Isaac Asimov said that violence is the last refuge of the incompetent. So we're looking at a dichotomy here in terms of what disenfranchised and hopeless people do versus what those who shouldn't be in law enforcement are doing in reference to, in this particular case, black men. And, you know, and I'm looking at the willingness of the people, as I said before. We were talking off camera about some things that are going on in our community, and most notably, if you look at throughout the city of St. Louis, you got "We must stop killing each other" signs in all these people's yards. This is something
Right.
that Better Family Life is doing. It's good.
Right.
It's good effort, but it doesn't work singularly.
What's
And it's,
gonna
not,
work?
it's no fault of their own. It's a good concept because what it does is it places moral authority in the laps of the black community, because we're saying we're not cool with killing each other.
But you know, that's the biggest thing that a lot of pundits that, in looking back at the news on CNN, MSNBC, you know,
Sure.
the coverage is going on, they saying, well, you know, Black Lives Matter. It seems like, and Giuliani came out with this comment recently that, you know, our black boys are going to be killed first and foremost,
Sure.
99% by their own brothers and sisters. And I'm like,
Can
okay,
I jump in on
you
that?
sure can.
Well, the ground floor, your question was, will we be able to move forward? The ground floor of any kind of progress that we're going to collectively make as a nation is accountability all the way around.
Yeah.
When Alton Sterling is murdered, and for the viewers, I don't know if they know I'm a police officer in St. Louis or not. I'm also the co-founder of the National Coalition
Right.
of Law
You're a
Enforcement
former
Officers
police
for
officer,
Justice,
yes.
Reform, and Accountability. For the viewers, when Alton Sterling is murdered in front of us, when Eric Garner is murdered on the corner in broad daylight in front of us, accountability has to attach to that. The American public needs to see, black people need to see, Hispanic people need to see, marginalized people need to see that the law equally applies to police officers and citizens alike. It can't be a separate criminal justice system for police and another one for us. Surely those officers who lost their lives in Dallas, tragically,
Yes.
we all mourn them,
Yes.
and correctly so.
Yes.
They had families. That person was going to be held responsible whether he was killed
Or not.
in the incident or not, and you know he was. That is what Black Lives Matter is calling for. That is what any sane and just person across this country is calling for. That's the ground floor. When you hear people like Rudy Giuliani, who is an absolute buffoon, and just a buffoon, Patrick Lynch, the president of the New York City Police Officers Union, buffoon, chin up, chest out, validating any and everything that police do regardless of what they do.
So the divisiveness and that divisiveness talk with reference to folks who really don't understand.
Yeah, but when they reference black on black crime, here's the thing. People commit crimes against the people they live around. So there's black on black crime, there's white on white crime, Hispanic on Hispanic crime. You victimize those people around you. Yes, we have a problem, and we have always acknowledged that, and we do proactive work. You just described Better
Just what
Family
Better
Life,
Family
but
Life
there's so
is
many
doing.
others. There's a lot of proactive work to address that issue. When will we get law enforcement and those inside the criminal justice system ready to work to resolve the issues that plague it, that are based in the institutional racism
That
and
need
its
to be
foundation?
continued to be studied and looked at, like the ethics society, ethical society, the Black Police Union in the city of St. Louis came out with
They
this
came out
past
with
week
a
as well.
strong report that we fully support. Heather Taylor is the president of the Ethical Society. She's done a fantastic job, a great personal sacrifice and risk to herself professionally, and even on these streets. But her integrity
Most
is
definitely.
unassailable.
Police officer,
Abram Pruitt with the Black Firefighters Association,
Yes.
Firefighters Institute of Racial Equality, they've come together to address those kinds of issues which have plagged us here in St. Louis.
They
And
do
look,
these dangerous jobs, but they still have the
Yeah.
tenacity to come forward with some truths that are going on in environments where they work. Corey, you work with young black kids in Ferguson. You have been doing this for quite a while now, and in looking at what has happened here, what do you say to your children?
I tell them that we're going to move forward, but it's going to take a little while. You know, it's going to take a little while. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell them to have hope when stuff like this is happening. You know, young black males are being murdered, you know, being killed, and I'm telling them that it's going to be better. I can't keep saying it, you know, because what's happening is totally opposite of what I'm telling them, you know, and it's very hard, it's very difficult. I would love for this to move forward, but unfortunately, I know it's gonna take some time.
It's going to take a minute or two to really make a difference. You have an event that's coming up that I want to drop in here right quick, because I want folks to attend.
Sure.
You do this every year. It's for a back to school.
Yeah, back to school event. We moved it from St. Nick's downtown. We moved it to Skate King this year. It's on a Tuesday this year, though. Usually we have it on a Saturday. It's on a Tuesday, August 9th at Skate King. You know, of course, children come out, they pay with 5 non-perishable food items. That does not, with the food items, we're gonna donate those to another nonprofit called Feed My Peeps, which is another phenomenal organization that feeds people that are in need.
And is that probably the caveat that we see when it comes to folks talking about black on black crime? Folks are hungry.
Yeah.
Folks need.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm of the ideology that, and I'm really shouldn't have an opinion about anything on the program, but if we had more infrastructure within the black communities, neighborhoods, where there were dollars, where folks were going and making money every day. I mean, back in the day when I was growing up, we had these manufacturing businesses set up in the communities where we live, where folks went to work.
Yeah.
And is that then the reason that we see the rise in crime? Because it looks like to me, and it's just my opinion, that the industry is now drugs.
Well,
that his, you know, drugs brings killings and shootings and insanity to the situation.
The best anti-crime program is employment. We can sit here and rationalize it all day. The best anti-crime program is employment. When President Obama went to the prison in Oklahoma City last July, a year ago, that was one of the things he talked about, you know, specifically that, you know, we have people who are incarcerated, and many are incarcerated because of a lack of opportunity, so they resort to criminal activity. Why are we locking people up and we're not giving them a skill set to emerge from that prison so that they come out with a skill set instead of emerging and with all these obstacles against them? Now they have to try to get a skill set, get a job. Their criminal background is being held against them. There must be reform in that area, and there must be gainful employment so that these young men, these young women can feel as if they're part of the society, they're earning an income, they're contributing taxpayers, and they're responsible, upstanding citizens. When you take hope away from people, when you take employment away from people, when you take all of the things that is the so-called American way away from them, you know, that dream away from them, then they're going to do what they need to do to survive.
Yeah, you're talking about root causes. And too many times in the mainstream, when black folks talk about root causes to the problems we see in our communities, it is equated to somehow trying to absolve ourselves of personal responsibility and accountability, which is utter, I got a word for it, but I can't say it because this is local television. It's utter foolism. The other thing, though, I like to point out is brothers like Corey. I wished he could get as much media as he could get, but when they say that we don't ever address or think about ways to address the problems in our own community, he's doing it. Sultan Muhammad, Real Talk. James Clark, Better Family Life. I can go on and on, but are they being presented? And the work that they do in our communities, is it consistently being presented to that broad audience so that they know these things are happening? And I'm so glad he's had this opportunity.
And it's sort of like, why don't we have programs like what he's doing and the constant positive messaging going out there, like what happened many, many years ago with the Surgeon General on Stop Smoking? Why can't we have the same kind of messaging going on?
Let me say this, and I'm in the St. Louis County Jail 3 nights a week teaching the curriculum. Women 3 weeks, men 3 weeks. The St. Louis County Jail doesn't even have a computer lab in the county jail that they can utilize to take online classes, complete their high school equivalency, or to just better themselves so that they have a skill set. And we know the new jobs are in technology. Why can't they learn these skills while they're incarcerated?
Accounting and technology.
Yes, and
number one field.
And I don't want to hear this nonsense about, well, how are we going to pay for it? You pay for it the same way that they put money on their books for commissary. You pay for it that way. So you can charge their families for this education they get. But in effect, really, isn't it more productive to provide those resources so that when they get out, that they're not taken away from society.
Well, then you got some pundits that would say, well, we've done all that. We put all this money into the community and folks don't want to come. I can mention one school. As a matter of fact, I remember working in Dallas at Fox Television. And this big old protest was happening here in St. Louis, Missouri at Goodfellow and 70. As a result of that big protest, there was a high school that was created to help young people learn how to build highways, right? Construction, that kind of thing. High school's gone now. Why is the high school gone? Because the kids didn't want to go to school. I mean, and talking and sitting on some of these boards for my bosses and learning more about what's going on with St. Louis City public schools, the youngsters weren't going. So what happened there? I mean, there was lots of money from a lot of huge firms that were poured into this situation, and they didn't show up.
Money alone doesn't solve the problem. You have to have an investment in human capital.
Okay.
What kind of outreach was done to explain to people what the opportunity that school presented to them was?
And I'd also
how many kids were actually reached to say that this is an opportunity that's available to you, and how did you go about reaching them?
Good
and who
question.
did the reaching out?
And
Very
how many jobs were at the end of that training? You can send people to school all day long to be involved in construction trades and learn that, but we know that there is a disparity in terms of minorities, specifically blacks, who are hired in those areas. I see construction going up and down 70 and 40 and all of these highways all the time. I very seldom see a black man or woman out there holding a sign to direct traffic. So if you send me down a blind alley to get an education that's not going to benefit me long term, at some point I'm going to say, forget you and your education, because it's fruitless.
So we're still seeing the disparities, even though money's been poured into certain programs, and folks are still not seeing those opportunities here?
No question about it.
That's still what's going on. Do your kids feel like, I don't know, does it really gonna make a difference for me, Miss Corey, or what we gonna do here?
With the kids, with the children that I teach in the pool program, they actually want to do something. I got one that wants to be a police officer. I have one that wants to be a firefighter. I have one that wants to paleontologist or something like that.
Okay.
And this is what they want to do, and exposing them is very important to these fields, and I think that over time, again, it's one of those things, and time will tell. I hope and I pray that they can get the fair treatment that they deserve. But as in past, as far as history has shown us, I don't know.
So in the case of what happened in Dallas, unfortunately, the young man that did the deed, Michael Johnson, he had a situation that went on in his personal life that seemed to relate to, and doing some research, to his disappointment with the federal government when he served in Afghanistan and some things went down. Are young people, and then this is a young man, 25 years old, who at the time when everything was going on, people thought, oh God, he's a marksman. This is someone who planned it. They didn't expect this young black guy to be the person. Are young people, the millennials, are they tired? Are they saying enough? I mean, I see
disillusioned. They're more than tired.
They're about to say tired.
This is generations deep.
Right.
The kinds of abuse, up to and including murders of folks who's in the process of being murdered by police officers, have had their human rights violated, civil rights violated, and civil liberties violated. That's way back before you and me.
Right.
Much of it unreported, much of it unrecorded. That's only in the last decade or so we see.
Yes.
The whole community, it's not just the young people, everyone is tired.
So the recordings that happened in Baton Rouge, the recordings that we saw of the young lady Diamond in Minnesota, they are making a difference?
It exacerbates the problem, because
making change, justice?
Ritter is making a very poignant case here. The point is, years ago, and we're talking about 400 years of history here, it was our word against the system.
Okay.
Now we have all of this technology that they never thought we'd utilize to record us being murdered, by the police. It still doesn't matter. They get a good lawyer, they go to court. The record speaks for itself. All we got to do is we can count off all the cases and look at the police that just walked. Being beaten on camera, getting shot on camera, being brutalized on camera. It's irrelevant. If you got a good lawyer beats video footage.
Money.
Particularly when it involves police officers taking the lives of black folks. And listen, in saying that, because I'm in St. Louis, I know. So let me be clear. that the call for police accountability and for someone to be held responsible for his criminal actions, regardless of the fact that he or she is a law enforcement officer, in no way positions me now as anti-law enforcement.
No,
I
couldn't
support the
possibly.
police.
Right,
I
exactly.
don't want to see those officers get gunned down in
Exactly.
Dallas or anywhere else, but I also don't want to see you murder me on the street and walk comfortably home while I'm vilified in the aftermath of it. And the reality that I've lived and so many people from coast to coast in the black community have lived is completely ignored and discounted in the mainstream. That's crap.
And the point is, we don't have enough Redditt Hudson. Redditt Hudson was one of the most stellar police officers that ever walked the streets.
University City, correct?
St. Louis City
St.
officer.
Louis City officer.
Okay.
You would get some disagreement on that
I understand.
from the local department.
But my point is, we don't have enough Redditt Hudsons. We don't have enough police. And the solution from the police side of this is, if I were a police officer, I would take issue with rogue police officers who are assassinating black men on the streets. Don't associate me with that type of behavior. I respect the police. I have some of my best friends are police officers. I have the utmost respect for them and their families. But I would disassociate myself from these rogue police officers. And police need to be putting signs up, look, we must stop killing black men. The same way Better Family Life is putting up signs saying we must stop killing each other. That's accountability on the side of the black community. There is no accountability on the side of the police community. And I know that there's this blue code of silence, that they're our brothers, we're not going to say anything, but that only compounds the distrust that already exists for the law enforcement community.
So we've got a lot, generations, as you said, 400 some odd years of folks coming after African Americans, folks coming after other people of color, and African Americans and folks of color not really seeing any justice at this point. What are going to be the solutions to seeing a change in this and getting the justice? Right now with Ferguson's situation, Mike Brown, they have a civil situation that's going on. Are we really going to see a positive come out of that?
It's possible, because
Okay.
you know, with some of the awareness I have around that case, and believe me, it should have gone to trial. Darren Wilson should have been tried on the facts. But what can change this is things like the Ethics Project. Dr. Christy Griffin's work is exemplary. I don't know how many people in St. Louis are aware of what she has established with this, but the work that she's doing to bring some integrity to the system and to reach out to our young people at the same time while we address these issues has been remarkable. I'm just honored to serve on her board. And that coalition that I told you about is doing exactly that work of putting together law enforcement officers, James, from around the country who will challenge the system from inside, and it's aggressive institutional racism from inside, because that's where the change has to come.
It has to change, and we're running out of time. We've got to shut down the show, but I appreciate all of you coming on the program. Got to have you back so we can do more of this kind of conversation. Probably even the town hall meeting is probably what we need, even though we continue to talk. Something needs to be done about it, but I think if we don't talk, nothing will happen at all. Thank you so much for coming into the studio and talking with us today. I'm Robin Boyce. I hope you have an awesome week coming up. We've got great information here on City Corner. Stick with us. We'll be back the next time.